Today is the day for you to figure out how the publishing formula that did over 20 mil in sales last year. Check it out. What's up, FlowChat fam? Chris here, CEO and co-founder of FlowChat. We talk to real entrepreneurs who are getting real results, and in this case, really exceptional results, multiple eight-figure results. So if you're looking to go more that direction with your life, with your business, this is a great episode for you to hang out all the way till the end, because first, we're going to unpack what it actually looks like to run an eight-figure business in 1 year today. And then second, we're going to learn more about this person. But this is a special person that you're going to want to hear it straight from him. So let's introduce Tyler. Tyler, how's it going, man?
Very good, man. Pumped to be here. Thanks for having me.
Dude, thanks for coming and hanging out. Dude, we've gotten to talk a couple times so far. We don't know each other super well yet, but the first thing that I gather right off the bat is like, this dude is super easy to talk to. You play at a high level, but you also make it look freaking easy. Was it easy doing over 20 million sales last year?
No. Well, I will say though, and I think I've heard Charlie Munger actually, I've heard him say this, that like, the first 100K is the hardest, and then from there it does actually get easier. So I will say that no, it was not easy, but I do think like my first million was actually harder than getting to eight figures.
Okay.
Kind of reasons I think for that, like, you know, the systems that you build, you're kind of like building the plane while you're flying it when you're getting to those first like couple 100K and that first million. But then once I don't know, I guess it was maybe around like 5 mil or 10 mil, like in that range, like you have to build the system. So now that I have the systems, it really is a situation where as we scale, I just keep hiring more people and just putting them in the place they need to go. And the structure's there. Like there's not really many more pivots that I have to do to keep it growing. Whereas in the beginning, it was a lot of like testing things out, pivoting a lot. So I don't know. Is that it? It was hard, but not as hard.
Here's Tyler. This just in. Here's what I'm picking up. I'm picking up that like the first half is like chaotic hard. I'll use that word. That's what I was hearing. In like we're testing. I'm not sure. Unknown. Uncertainty. Maybe you're pulling your hair out at that stage. I was messing with them before we got on here. All right. So it's like so we got that going. But the second half is more like I need like, you know, head count. I got to find quality people. I need to build system and train on what to do. What am I supposed to do? It's like, I know what to do, but how do I get you to know what that is to do? And that's that, like people can be super draining. I hear. I've never had that experience, but that's what I hear.
No. Well,
yeah.
You know, what's interesting is like, and I think, not to keep like referencing people, but I think I've heard like Grant Cardone kind of talks about, regardless of like however you feel about him, I think one of the things that I really like that he says is he's like, you need more people in your pipeline, right? Yeah. So it's like, to me,
that sounds like Grant would say that.
Yeah, like it's like a numbers game almost, and that's how we've been able to scale so much. Is like, dude, we literally, and I think I've told you this on the phone calls, we have like 40,000 affiliates. I do 100 phone calls per week, like Monday through Friday, 20 calls a day. I did that for probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years straight, like literally. Okay. So it's like when you start to like really peel back the onion, it's almost like not surprising what we've been able to accomplish just based on the mere conversations that we've had. So it's like, that's the formula to me. It's like, if you have a good product or service and like all that stuff's lined up, now we're in a position where it's like, I just want more eyeballs. Like my only goal right now is like more eyeballs, and we will grow because everything else has already been battle tested and is like set up to scale, you know?
Okay, we've got a lot to unpack here. You just dropped like multiple like really good things. So I think it's important because like there's this contrast, like when people, you know, seeing you, hearing you got like this likable, like, you know, easygoing personality. At least that's like any interaction I've had with you or seen. I'm like, dude, this guy's awesome, right? But it's like, dude, you're an animal. Like, I mean, you're putting the time in, you're getting the reps in, like, and so I want people to catch that part because people listening, watching are like, oh, I can't, or I haven't, or I know I can, but it just doesn't. Why doesn't it quite go that way for me? It's like, take what you're doing and then listen to Grant Cardone where he's like 10x it, and then actually do another 100x. and then you're going
Mhm.
to be getting close. And I think that's the piece that people discredit themselves because they're comparing someone that has done thousands of times more reps, and that's the game of business, love it or hate it. So let's hang here. That being said, you said like the numbers of how many calls you did for 4 to 5 years, like 20 a day or something.
Yeah. I would do 100. Literally, my calendar Monday through Friday, 20 per day for probably 4 or 5 years. I did that. So
Boom,
100.
boom, boom.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
every
when you
20 minutes. Yeah.
see, I like that alone right there is like, okay, you're going to learn a lot about yourself. A lot of people are going to stop after a month. Well, I've been doing this for 2 years. I'm making some money now. Now I'm not doing it anymore. But like you're in it 4 years, 5 years, and there's a really powerful direction that we're going to cover after this in just a second. But what was your biggest takeaway from doing all those calls?
Biggest takeaway for me, man, was like, I think it's so exciting to know that every person you meet, there's who they are when you just talk to them, like the front view, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
But then there's like so many possibilities that that relationship could evolve into that you don't know until you connect with the person.
yeah,
And dude, like everything that I kind of trace back to any success I've had in my life, like, yes, I personally put in hard work to get it, but I can also trace it back to relationships. Like just one quick example that's coming to my head, or two real quick, is one, I interviewed this girl named Melanie. She happened to know Gary Vaynerchuk. A month later, Gary Vaynerchuk's on my podcast. And this was
boom.
just like regular person I was connected to, where we meet, we hit it off, good interview. And she's like, hey, who's your dream podcast guest? I'm like, Gary V. And she's like, oh, I can introduce you. So, and
Oh,
how you never would know that, right? And then, and I'm sure we'll dive a little bit into this, but scaling the company and the reason I started doing all these phone calls is this was probably, I want to say maybe 12 years I've been running it. So I think like it was 7 years ago is when we hit the million mark. So it took me about 5, 6 years to hit the 7-figure mark.
yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah,
Punchline, 5 to 6 years to hit 7 figures a year. Okay, this is good. Keep
yeah.
going.
And what I had realized, and it's pretty crazy, is that I had realized, and I should speak this first real quick, is that we do like book publishing and we do book marketing, but what we're
Yes.
known for in the industry is our book marketing capabilities because we don't really have much competition on that side. There's a lot of publishers, but there's not a lot of book marketers out there, and we are just masters at it. So how we've grown the company mostly is by partnering with people that also work with authors, and they offer like complementary services, right? So a book publisher is a perfect partner because they basically do everything up until the marketing, and then they hand the author off to us. So what happened is I'm looking in my CRM in Pipedrive, and I notice that one of our publishing partners was worth about 80% of our revenue, like was like the majority of our revenue. And
Oh,
I didn't even realize it for like a while. And I just started to notice, I'm like, oh my God, I got to pay more attention to this guy. Like this guy's referring us over $1 million a year. Like this is
yeah.
crazy. And then it clicked for me. I was like, oh, if I want a $20 million business, I just got to find 19 more of
There we
these
go.
publishers.
There we go.
And then that's when I went on the hunt. Like, and that's when I was like, okay, and I will tell you, it's not easy to find. It's like needles in a haystack, but basically, it comes
So
down
true.
to, let's say out of those 40,000 affiliates we have, and it starts to even the 80-20 rule starts to actually go to like 90-10, 95-5, like it gets
I
smaller.
believe that.
I'd say like no, maybe more, like 400 to 500 of those are 90% of our revenue now. So like I ended up finding maybe, let's say, 12 more of those publishers, some big ghostwriter partners, PR, like, but I had to do, or not just me, but my team had to do tens of thousands, if not, dude, we've done millions of reach outs. I don't even know how many calls, probably hundreds of thousands of phone calls out there to get to 40,000 affiliates that have 500 that actually produce results. Right. So
Yeah.
that's why filling the pipeline once your product or service is figured out is the actual key.
Okay,
Right.
once your offer, product or service is figured out, let me ask you a question though.
Yeah.
Did you have it figured out, or was it getting refined and improved as you were getting the reps of selling it and delivering on it?
Definitely the second option. Like our business at first, dude, I was actually coaching people on how to write, publish, and market their book. And then I realized very quickly, I tapped out there at about 300 grand a year. I was in my early 20s, and people were calling me like 2 a.m. from like Germany and all, and like it was like coaching. And I'm the type of person that like I really actually enjoyed it, but I'm not good at like saying no to people all the time. Like I'm kind of a people pleaser, I guess sometimes. So I would never get mad at my client for like kind of overstepping the boundary a little bit.
Like calling you at 2 a.m. and screaming at you
Yeah,
in German. Of course, I like, yeah, what do you say? How are you supposed to say no to that? You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like,
But what happened is then it's kind of a funny realization is I was like, oh my God, I thought it would be easier to coach somebody to do it themselves, but it's actually easier to literally actually remove them from the equation and just do it for them. Like that is the easier way.
I
Um,
love you, bull in a china shop, but like I just need you to step outside for a minute. Let me, yeah, okay.
so either way, as you were saying, like through trial and error, for the first, like I'd say it took us. It was probably around the time that we hit that first million mark is when I would say we figured out our packaging.
Okay.
Um, and so we went from coaching to completely getting rid of that to now, or I guess 7 years ago, around high ticket done for you, which
Okay.
that is very scalable. You just have to continuously hire more people as you bring on more clients, right? But
To fulfill.
the SOPs are, yeah, it's just you just need more people. And then courses, we have low ticket courses as well, and obviously those are scalable because there's no time involved
Right.
in delivering.
Yeah, high
But
margin.
yes, we evolved over time for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of big things here. Number one, and then we'll get to some of the scaling stuff in a bit, but like a lot of reps and talking to a lot of people, I think that is one of the most like valuable things someone could do. Oh, I worked hard, I worked a lot of hours. What did you do during those hours? And so even for, FlowChat, like our recent offer, we've brought multiple offers, multiple businesses and services to market, already that all did at least 7 figures or more. The number one step that we do is like doing what you just said, the calls in the beginning, right? Average 7.3 calls per day for 7 months, right? I know it's not 4 to 5 years, but this is,
No.
built on top of like 13 plus years. So it's like, look, it was just getting the reps. Those were all sales hours. There was more Zoom call hours during the day, but those weren't sales related. So at least 70 to 80% of my time, I'm giving listeners and watchers right now the percentage. 70 to 80+% of your time would be on revenue generating activity personally, sub 7 figure. Like because
Mm,
it's not just sales, it's also like learning, it's market research, it's what happens after the sale and the delivery and the onboarding, massive education. You're somebody that got the big result and played here. All right. Now, as you did that, you're asking for referral. You're meeting Gary V. You're getting the connections you need. It's like, how do you get them? Like as we're talking right now, Tyler, the call right
yeah.
before this, he was like, "Oh yeah, I was." It wasn't Gary V, but it was like, "I was just talking to that guy right now. I'll just text him." And like while we were here, like the notification came in, like, "Oh hey, like there's a connection." Like everything you just
No.
said just happened, man. So it's like, but you don't know who people know, but you meet them and you ask, and you're doing the activity every single day. Okay, cool. So there's that. So you grow to 7 figures. You learned also that I thought this was interesting what you just said. Hey, I did it myself, done, coaching with you. I was around 300K and I kind of tapped out there. It was like always saying yes, always being everyone to everything to everyone. And you're like, you know what? It's a better system if I just do what I'm good at and they give me money and I put people in place to run the SOP. Now you
Mm,
have not just an offer, but a system for delivery. And I
mm.
think I think a lot of times people will get to that 300, maybe 500K mark and say, this hurts too much. I just don't want to do it. So I'm going to back off. It's like, no, no. It's like finding the who to come in, really lean into that next skill set of system.
No, dude, it's absolutely what it is. And I think if you can stay, and I'm not, it sounds kind of cliche, but it's like if you can stay in your like zone of genius, it really does work out better. Meaning, like, dude, as you said, every interaction, and I've gotten this my whole life. Like people have always said, you have the gift of gab, and like I'm just a people person. And the reason though that every interaction I think with me from the other end seems to be good is because I thoroughly enjoy it myself. Like
Mm,
it's not like this isn't like like the reason I have a podcast, right? I started it for fun because I just had like too much time on my hands, and I've done 2,500 interviews in like 4 years, and it's like, and it sounds crazy, but it's just like I thoroughly am curious about other people, and I enjoy. Like I could never be an accountant. Like if you put me in a room by myself for 10 hours a day, I would be depressed as hell. Like it would be terrible, man. Okay, what I'm getting at by saying all that is like I was meant to do the 100 calls a week, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
This is real.
that's
This is
what I
good.
did, and then that got me to like low seven figures. But then to scale past that, I kind of had to like duplicate myself. So now we have a sales team of like we have some part-time people, but it's around a dozen people, I'd say, if you
Yeah.
kind of add part-time together and stuff. So, and I still do calls and stuff. Like every Wednesday, I line up this is a Wednesday. I line up all my calls and podcasts. And then the other 6 days, now I've kind of moved into more of like, I guess like just more of an investing mindset and
Okay.
trying to figure out how to like it's still good for me, I think, to do 100 calls a week. I was talking to
You
my
want to
brother. I
stay
was like,
sharp. After you do
I
it,
know,
you're like, I'm getting soft. I gotta, yeah.
but I think now I've started to become a little bit more strategic with who those phone calls are with,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I will say before, dude, I would talk to anybody. Like I was just on LinkedIn. I'd be like, "Want to have a call?" Like they could
Yeah.
be
I'll do it
anything.
right
They
now.
could be like, yeah, like
Your
I'm
little
available right
Caesar's hot and ready, man. Like, let's just whatever.
yeah, yeah. It was just because I was just hungry to connect and learn stuff. So I think it's like it is a numbers game, but then once you kind of figure out who the target is, then you can, kind of get a little bit more
Hone it in.
strategic with who you're talking to, right?
You get those reps and you learn how to focus the scope. Now, okay, so let's do this. Let's shift gears. Same
Yeah.
topic, same conversation. We're going on this nice linear path, but let's shift gears to start speaking to someone. Say, hey, Tyler, totally get it. I got my reps. I understand, but I've built my network now. I've been doing this for a second, and I need more attention. I can leverage more distribution, and something you've done very well is build partnerships and affiliates, and that is a pain in the ass to do
Yeah.
well. And
It's a lot
so
of
let's hang there. Now we're speaking to someone that's mid-experienced, more experience. Hey, I'm still going to do maybe 10 calls a week or 15 calls a week, but those are all going to be strategic partnerships, and 20 to 40% of those are going to hit, and all of those are going to equal one to many. Where did those come into the picture?
meaning like what would I suggest those people do at that point, you mean? Like what's
Yeah,
the next step?
yeah, them, and really suggesting that through your story, because I think in one of our other comments you said there's like 1,200, or like you built like this massive network of people that are referring, and
Oh yeah,
uh,
yeah. So I'll talk through like IP, like Infinite Partnership System. It's another business we have, and like how. So basically, and stop me if I'm going off track here, but I think it'd be helpful if I start from the foundation and then build up
please,
first.
yeah,
So essentially, it's like it is a lot of work, but here's my reasoning for doing it is like to me, look, Facebook ads, funnels, all that stuff's great. It can work. Like I actually see in the background of your video, you have the click funnels award. I think all of it's amazing, and you are a testament that that stuff works a
works
hundred
totally,
percent. Right?
yeah,
It totally works. I just think that the only thing with some of that stuff with like paid ads is that when you stop paying, they stop coming, right? So then it's off. Whereas if your core focus, and there's so many ways to market, so I'm not here saying that this is the only way. There's many ways, but referrals I think are something that you build the relationship once and you nurture it, but it's forever, right? Like that publisher that I said had done over $1 million for us in a year 7 years ago. That publisher is still referring business to us every year, like multiple a year.
wow,
So to me, it's like the strategy is this. You, first of all, you have to have a good product or service. And then you discover who are all of the people or businesses that offer complementary services, right, to your business. So for us,
yeah,
we do ghostwriting, editing, publishing, and book marketing, things like bestseller list stuff, all that. But so we're competitors with some of these people like publishers, but I don't view it that way. I always am trying to find what do you offer that I don't, and then vice versa. So
yeah,
for us, our top partners are book publishers, ghostwriters, editors, and PR agencies. Those four types of companies or people tend to work with a lot of authors, and they don't offer most of what we offer, right? So then we go down a path of, all right, we're going to reach out to every book publisher in the entire world that speaks English. And we literally did that, like every single book publisher.
Yeah.
Right. And then okay, that keyword or that type of person, that's off the list. Like we've already connected with every single one of those. And then ghostwriters. And now we're all the way down the line of like political consultants, because some of their political clients want to become authors to help them win races. Another one, so it doesn't have to be so direct sometimes. Like we're also partnering now with college admission consultants, because we now help kids become best-selling authors to help them
Ah,
to the best college possible. Because if that's on your resume for a college application, it can help you get a better college and then also a better job, because it really makes you stand out if you're like an 18-year-old best-selling author. That's like pretty rare. So, there's so
I
many
would agree.
angles. So yeah, but then I think what happens is you eventually, though, you do need to step out of the business and kind of more be like an overlooking instead of working so much in it. And
Yeah.
that's really hard for a lot of people. I think there's actually an entire book on it. I think it's called The Entrepreneur's Dilemma. So it's like, what gets you here will not get you to the next point. So if I was still doing 100 calls a week, I don't know if I would have broke 8 figures actually,
Yeah.
because I would have never stepped out and hired others. So I think that's the process, is like good product, good service, partner with as many complementary service providers as possible. And then once you kind of tap out, then hire others, give them good commissions, step out, still do some of call like that partner from 7 years ago. I will still do calls with them, right? Like I'm not going to pass that
Yeah.
person to a
Yeah.
sale. So I think you got to have one day a week to still like with those top relationships,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Does that answer the question? Like, I think that's the formula.
It
Yeah.
does. It does. And if you're actually one of those people listening before on the ticker goes away, like authorsunite.com, check that out real quick. We'll talk about it a little bit more later. But I was like, Tyler's doing some amazing things. Go check out his website. There's some great resources on there. If you're any of those people that he was just mentioning, because there's some good opportunity for collaboration. You're going to get plugged into a great network, and that's what you've built. So Tyler, yeah, like you can't, already in this particular project with FlowChat, it's like I have fired myself at least 10 times already. It's like
Mm.
you do a thing, build team system, okay, replace, okay, go build this. And usually it's in the buckets of like, lead gen, nurture, conversion, delivery, retention. And then you cycle through all the things again. Okay, like let's build new system. Okay, this needs to be tightened up here. And you find yourself like when you're kind of stepping out, you're like watching things happen. You're like, ooh, like this part's kind of broke. Okay, we need more team and system here. Ooh, now back to this one. It's kind of constantly spinning all the plates. The part that I really wanted people to catch, yes, you started out with the skill set of connecting with people, and you have that personality where you're like, hey, it's just easier for me to just connect with people and talk. That's everyone listening, watching this. You're gonna die inside. Some of you are gonna die inside when you hear that, and it's okay. Like you can build your business another way. But if people want to build it this way or don't, know that that's available to them, it's like, hey, this is a way to do it. And here's what it sounds like. Here's what it looks like. Here's how it actually works. And applying that same skill set, you're connecting with other people and building relationship that refer for the rest of your life. And it's like, hey, if they refer, I'm still going to connect with those people. I'm doing a lot less calls, but these are like basically done deals. It's a thing. It's a relationship we're keeping going, and that's what that looks and sounds like. So I really wanted people to catch that. I really also wanted people to hear what you said. Here is exactly who I serve. I'm helping authors. Okay. Well, I can serve authors. The next level thought is who already has relationship with multiple authors. I'm going to invest tens of thousands of calls. Labor, I'm going to literally call all of them. Some people are like, yeah, like me, I called 100, this year. I'm going to call all of them. I'm Tyler. And so it's like you do the thing, right? That volume. And as soon as you start speaking about yourself in third person, that's when you know it's real. Anyway,
Yeah.
so it's like you can making fun of it. So you connect with all those people. It's like, okay, we landed 10, we landed 20, we landed 100, we landed more, and all of those people are equaling 2, 5, 10 average referrals per year. Now you have an inflow that's coming
Mhm.
in, that's feeding the business, and you're maintaining that leveraged relationship. But I think sometimes it's like, oh, but it takes so much work, and what if they fall apart and the partner doesn't refer? Like, yes, that will happen. It's just another sales process. But hey, Tyler's
Yeah.
one of the best that's put it together.
Dude, I think like the biggest thing at the end there that you just said that I want to emphasize more on is like I think there's a different mindset with being an entrepreneur and like having the mindset, and obviously there is, but I'm just trying to kind of put a magnifying glass on it. Is like
Yeah.
I somebody who is afraid to spend a lot of time on something that won't work. I don't really think has that entrepreneurial mindset.
Mm,
Meaning, like I have come to realize that I have spent so many hours, like out of all those phone calls, right? Like, let's just think about it. 39, let's just say it's 40,000 even. And it's obviously it's not that exact number, but let's just say it is. 39,500 of them have produced zero revenue for us, right? So that's all. Sorry, I don't know if I curse. That's a lot of wasted time. Okay,
yeah.
like that you can't waste more time, right, in your life. Like that's a lot.
Yeah.
But like 500 of them have produced 8 figures a year of revenue, right? So it's like, I feel like that's kind of part of the game of entrepreneurship is knowing that you're going to spend all this time and like maybe 90% of it is like in quotes wasted, although it's not actually wasted, but it's not the thing that produces the result. But the 10% that you discover in that time produces results that an employee could never produce.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, I don't know. Yeah.
Here's a punchline. If you're the top 10%, certainly top 5% in anything, you're going to be okay. Okay.
Mhm.
And so if you're going to prospect in terms of offer or skill or whatever, you're going to be okay. If you're going to prospect, the top, it's really going to be the top 5, 10, maybe 15% that generates 80+% of the revenue or result. Because
Mhm.
we're talking prospecting, we're talking relationship building and building that affiliate network. Let's talk doing ads. Let's talk ad spend. It's like, oh, I spent 10 grand, I made 100 grand. Cool, 10x ROAS, but it wasn't the 10 grand that generated that. It was like the 823 that generated the one or two, five
Ah,
deals that did this. It's all the same crap. Like,
it
you
is.
know what I'm saying?
You're right.
The numbers are the numbers. And so I like to sit in my room and record video and not talk to people and look at Ads Manager and study CAC and
Yeah.
LTV and all the numbers and the SEO. That's my skill set and personality. Double, triple down, waste 90% of your time, which really isn't failing and wasting. It's built.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of skill stacking, right? You skill stacked around conversation and relationship. So that's your relationally intelligent EQ, right? So you play here, and then you play with one to many with the same skill set, and then that's how you're skill stacking, and building your business. I wish somebody would have told me these things a lot sooner in my career. See, like I try this, I try that, I try that. It's like, look, kind of what's your
Yeah.
personality? What do you naturally gravitate towards? And now you're in it for the long haul. Like, you
Dude,
know,
that is what it is, right? Like and that's what's so cool is like we're able to connect, but our personalities are different in that sense, right? Like, dude, like for me, I remember trying to figure out Facebook ads, the ads manager, and I
how'd it go,
despise.
Tyler?
Oh, terribly. Like I just don't like it at all. Like anything like building a website or it's not me. But if you were like, hey, tomorrow you're gonna wake up and you're gonna have 30 phone calls. I'm like, oh wow, it sounds like a great day. Like I'm gonna be very fulfilled at the end of that day. Like
So
I
if you're
actually like
listening to this and you're like sweating or you're tightening up a little bit to not be too when you heard 30 calls, 20 calls, like
it.
it's probably not your move. You know what I mean? So don't build around that. But if you're like, Like that's freaking like I could do that. Like that's how you know it's probably some you're like. Okay, so we beat that one up pretty good.
Yeah.
I know there's someone listening or watching that it's like the epiphany is, oh my gosh, it is what I'm feeling is like I don't think it's gonna work. It's like what you're feeling is the 90% or more that will, you're right, that won't work. But if you can push through and know that you hit enough numbers and know that your skill is going to acquire and fit your personality over time, which might be 30 days, which might be 90 days, which might be 12 months, you're going to start picking up momentum and traction and get the vision of how you can go and grow. So, okay, let's do this. How the heck did you get into publishing?
Oh, cool. All right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I feel like we haven't talked about that. So, okay, I want to say I was 18, 19. No, I think I was 19. I'm in college in South Carolina. A friend recommends The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss.
Okay.
I read the book, and then literally after I read the book, I call my college counselor. I'm like, do we have at the university, is there an entrepreneurship major? And she's like, no, there's just a management major. And I was just like, no, I'm not doing it. So I literally decide 2 weeks later to drop out of college. And before I do, though, I do a 6 month study abroad and just party for 6 months over in Europe and Africa. Because I'm like, why not fail all my classes? It was a beautiful ending to the college. And then, so then
So good.
I get back and I'm like, all right, now I actually got to like figure out what I'm going to do with my life. And I end up start reaching out to these conference coordinators because
Okay.
basically I realized now that I'm not in college, I'm like, all right, I need a new way to like learn things, right? So I'm like, I'm going to read books and I'm going to try to go to conferences, but I can't afford the conferences because I'm $80,000 in debt from college. And, but I want to go. So this is what the crazy kind of full circle moment is. I end up going to this conference called Mastermind Talks. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I
Jason
actually,
Gaynard, the founder.
okay.
Um, it's based in like Toronto, Canada. But either way, the reason I found it is because I got retargeted with Tim Ferriss's Facebook with an ad with his face on it because he was the
Nice.
keynote speaker. So, I click it and I reach out to the guy, and the next day we're on Skype, and I'm like, look, I'm an aspiring entrepreneur. I'm dropped out of college. I have no money. Is there any way I can help you with the event in exchange for coming for free? And we just hit it off, right? Just, relationship building. And he's like, look, if you can help me find some sponsors for the event, I'll fly you out here and you can come. So, dude, literally 6 months later, I'm like backstage with Tim Ferriss at this event. So crazy, dude, right? And like,
Amazing.
and again, you never know what a relationship, the door it'll open, right? So, and then that turns into an internship. So I end up living in Canada for like 6 months, right next to this guy, Jason, and his family. And I'm like at the office with him every day. And I'm
Wow.
like seeing how he's growing. Mastermind Talks, by the way, is this huge community now. It's a very successful, I don't even know what you call it, just like network, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
And here's the epiphany is almost all the speakers at that event and all the other events I was going to were authors or best-selling authors, better yet.
Ah,
So it clicks for me. I'm like, okay, I'm 19, 20 years old. Who is going to pay me to speak? Like, what am I an expert at? I have nothing. Like, you would pay me to lead the
partying in
event.
the UK.
Like, yeah, I know the best bar in the UK. So, and then I'm like, okay, this is the way I can do it. If I become a best-selling author, people will take me seriously and they'll pay me to speak. So that was
Mm,
actually the first thing is I was like, I'm going to be a public speaker, right? All people-oriented ideas, because I realized early on I could never do a desk job by myself. It's just I
yeah.
can't do. So I write a book. It's called Conference Crushing, and what it is, it's a tiny like 70-page guide that's about how to network at conferences. And then I start reaching out to conference coordinators saying, "Hey, like this book's I made a bestseller on Amazon, which is actually not that hard to do, but 12 years ago it was a way bigger deal." And we can get into that if you want on the bestseller
Sure.
list. Just let me know. But basically, the story goes to this: is that I actually start getting paid to speak at conferences and like open up to teach people how to network at the literal conference. So like anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000. Probably had 12 to 15 conferences pay me that. And then I just realized quickly that there was more people interested in my story of how I wrote a book and became a bestseller at 19, 20 years old than conferences were like knocking down my door to speak, right? Like it, a couple grand here and there, but it wasn't like sustainable. It didn't feel like.
Yeah.
So then, dude, I help a few friends for free. I'm like, look, you want to be an author or a bestseller? Here's exactly how to do it. They give me testimonials, and 12 years later, like 3,500 plus authors.
I
That's
hope
literally.
everyone is like step by step noting the pattern that you just described, because those are all the natural progression and story. So it's like your activity creates competency. Activity
Mhm.
creates competency. It's not like we're going to sit in some room and think of some magical idea that the market, some solution looking for a problem or the other way around. You know what I'm saying? It's like you were in the market, moving forward, made an observation. Oh, they all have this. Here's a pattern. I should probably do that. And then you're doing that, and then you learn, well, people are more interested in this rather than just me talking about the topic matter. Oh,
Mhm.
second observation. Maybe I should help a couple people with that. Let's double click that, go down that file path, and you're like, I'll just do it for free. Let's see if we can do so. Oh, we're actually able to accomplish something. Cool. Now I have testimonial. No one sells our everyone listening, watching sells our products and services better than our customers.
Mm. Yep.
So they start selling for you, right? And then, in the first half, we were covering, hey, here's the numbers we hit, and here's kind of how you scale the business side. But it's really cool to hear the genesis of it all, because sometimes we overcomplicate it. It's like, just go have some conversations. Like, just go serve some people for free. Can you even get them the result? And
Dude. Yeah. Sorry.
it,
Go ahead.
no, no, say it, say it. I want to
Okay,
hear.
no, I was gonna say, I think like, because it's funny. I feel like a lot of times you forget how you got to where you are. So I'm actually just had a realization that I remember that even though I had these observations, I definitely was not like certain about things at the time, right? But I had kind of just after reading all these self help books and business books, I finally just came to the conclusion that I'm just going to start doing and stop like sitting and
Yeah,
thinking all the time. Like
yeah,
thinking is great. You
yeah,
definitely need to think. But I just mean the way that I figured it all out was truly by just doing things and then stepping back and looking at what happened from the doing.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
was like, oh, that person's happy. I made them a bestseller. That worked. They're giving me a testimonial. Let's do that again. Or, this didn't work for this person. Let's not do. But if I had only sat at home and just tried to figure it out, I never would have got there. Like
yeah.
it had to happen through trial and error. Like that's.
Yeah, the analogy I love on this is a car, where it's like, thinking by itself is being parked, car not moving, and you're trying to steer a direction. It doesn't
Mm.
work. But if your foot is on the gas pedal, you can evaluate. You can think and evaluate. Oh, looks like okay, an opening is over here. Hypothesis. Let's test that. Let's turn right a little bit. Let's go down this path. And you can turn, and it's actually going to go somewhere because your foot's on the gas pedal. And so I know it's like a super simple. I like word pictures and analogies,
No,
but you know,
sure.
I talk to so many different business owners where it's like, well, I'm thinking this, I'm thinking that. It's like, well, it's been 3 months. Like we could have solved this in like 2 hours, and by just
Mhm.
making a couple phone calls. It's like I'm not sure what to say. I was like, well, I mean, I serve lawyers, Chris, and da, da, da. It's like, well, how many lawyers do you know? I was like, oh, probably like 10. I was like, how many have you called? Like, just call them. Like, can I come to your office today? Can we talk for? Can I bring you something, coffee, whatever, or just sit in the lobby and watch the customers come in and who are they? Like, what do they do? What are they stressed? What questions are they at? So you can do that type of market research through doing, and anyway, it's super powerful. So I love how you articulated that. So you go down this path. Did you ever think that you would be a publisher?
No, dude. And here's what's so crazy too. I have to share this, and so I won't go crazy in the details. But when I was younger, dude, like I was like that popular kid in school that I did sports, but I was also just like the like the party guy, the stoner, like that's so I literally, and I saved this, I have it somewhere in my phone. One of my ex-girlfriends, when she found out that I was a book publisher, she like messaged me and she's like, I didn't even know you could read. That's what she said. Because dude, like the idea that I would be a book publisher, like my 13-year-old self or even like 17-year-old self, dude, not even in the ray of possibilities. Like, no way at all. Not even close.
Oh my gosh. The,
Funny.
the adventure of life and entrepreneurship, man.
Yeah.
So, sometimes, hopefully that'll free some people up in that, I'm this person. Here's my identity. I do this. It's like, you look, where you're going, kind of the outcome you'd like to create, but maybe be a little bit more open to how you get there.
Yes.
And I think is pretty powerful, the way that you're sharing that.
Yeah, I think like, and the outcome I think I always wanted, and it goes back because my dad worked for like a Fortune 50 company, and he
Okay.
he retired recently, which is cool. But like, I always from seeing him work. Sorry for the noise,
Gee.
motorcycle.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and but like freedom, like that's, and I think most people want freedom, obviously, but
Yeah,
I was like, I want to work when I want to work. I don't want to work when somebody demands that I work, right? So
sure.
did I think book publishing would get me there? No, but like I just happened to write a book, and then I noticed that almost everybody wants to write a book, and I was like, oh, I'm actually good at this. Like I can help all those people, and then that's what I decided to do as a business. But I wasn't like stuck on. As you said, I wasn't stuck on how to get there. I was open to any
Yeah,
possibility, and because of that openness, I think I was able to be aware of that it
dude.
was that.
So powerful. This has been a fun convo. Before we get to the last question that I ask everyone, there's one other little tasty in here that I was like, this is pretty badass, and we completely skipped over it in your story. It's while we're hanging kind of in the beginning phases, you read a book, Tim Ferriss, and right after you call your counselor, hey, do you have more of what he was talking about? No, I don't. Okay, peace out. Like decision made. Like,
Yeah.
dude, that's a big fast decision. A lot of people like struggle. Like, should I finish college? Should I go to college? Should I stay? Like, they stay in that zone for like. You're just like, yeah, I'm out. So
I will
what?
say that I did struggle though with it. Like,
Okay.
although I made the decision quickly after making the decision, I mean, look, when I was in Europe and Africa, I was like, I had my mind was altered for the entirety of the season. So like, I was chill then. But when I came back to the U.S., sobered up and like focused, then I was actually scared. I was like,
You're like, what
did I
just
make
happened?
the wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I made the right. Like, I actually remember I literally did almost decide to go back to school. So
Oh,
just to make that
okay.
clear, yeah, because I wasn't. I didn't quite know, right? Because it was now it all seems so like clear of a path, like looking backwards.
Of
But at
course
the
I can't
time,
read and I'm doing publishing.
yeah, no,
Crystal
no,
clear.
yeah,
Yeah, I just yeah.
no, it's so funny because you're right, and it's just like even like I said, my idea was how am I going to learn now? Books and
Yeah.
conferences, but I didn't know that like people were going to say yes to me and let me come for free, and but they did.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like if one of those things didn't work out, then I maybe would have went back to school. So it's like I don't know. It's just weird.
That's really true. I think it's really powerful that sometimes to like shake things up or really get that next level of breakthrough, like a tangible thing people can do is change their geography, like move somewhere else. You actually went to where your mentor or person you were learning from, and I know when I like graduated college, I thought about going to get my master's. And I was like, I'll probably just be business. But I started looking at the programs, and not that all like pro MBAs are like bad, but the ones I was looking at, it's like 50 grand, 100 grand or more. And I was like, okay, but like, what's the ROI on that? Doesn't that matter for my master's in business? And I was like, that doesn't look so good. Like the number, like what if I just paid like somebody that's already doing it like 20 grand or 30 grand and breathed over their shoulder? Not that I had that money either, but I was like,
Yeah.
it's not 100 grand. And so that idea was there, and I didn't know masterminds exist. And you went to a mastermind, and I found a mastermind. You kind of find a way to get closer, some proximity, and you think, man, people having a marriage and a family and run multi-million dollar businesses, like I don't know anyone that does that. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in a room where everyone is that. You're like, this
So
isn't even like impossible or crazy. Like this is just normal here. And that shifts your trajectory and you're like it shatters your whole frame and world
yeah,
perspective. So it's cool that you geographically relocated and got in that proximity and the trajectory of how that affected, to where you're at.
yeah,
Anyway, I thought that was pretty powerful. Um,
yeah.
all right.
Good. No, I could talk forever, so I want to let you do that.
Where do we find you, Tyler?
Yes. So I'd say two spots. One is authorsunite.com, anything author related. And then Infinite Partnership System, that's like helping businesses scale through referrals. And I guess third would be my Instagram, Tyler B. Wagner, just for personal stuff.
Tyler B. Wagner. Hit him up on IG. You can see it right now, authorsunite.com. And dude, so thank you for coming and hanging out with us, giving to the community. This is the question I like to end with. High performers, I put you in this bucket, of course, fascinate me. I don't care if it's art, if it's music, if it's sport, if it's something else I haven't mentioned yet, business, entrepreneurship. It takes a certain in all of those mediums, it takes a certain person you got to put yourself out there over and over again for years and oftentimes decades. I feel like you got to have a couple screws loose to like keep
Well,
doing that. And so I think really what I'm asking you is, hey, Tyler, why am I like this? But we'll focus on you for today. What drives you is the question. I'm asking you why do you do what you do? Why put yourself out there? Um, yeah, we'll go with that.
yeah. Well, so I want to answer two parts of that real quick. So I think like the screw loose thing, and I'll just go back to Grant Cardone, is like I just being honest, as I have been this whole show, is that I think I have an addictive personality, like,
Mm,
and that can lead you down very, very bad paths, which it has in my past. But I was able, as I got older, to gear it towards something productive, right?
ah,
And Cardone actually talks about that with his life, is like, he used to be drug addict, and I'm sharing this because he shares it publicly. So
sure.
he used to be, but now, a lot of people are like, how does he have so much energy? And it's like, dude, I don't really know. I think it's like a personality thing where like, dude, it's very hard for me to sit still. Like I like to work. I actually like it. Like I don't desire to retire at the end. I desire to just have this constant flow of work and fun all kind of blended together. So I do think it's a personality thing or something where whatever I put my mind to, I become kind of like addicted to it, and then I go all in. That's why I talk
Mm.
to every book publisher. I didn't want no stone is left unturned. Like I will not, like I have to complete the cycle. But then what drives me, I think it is like family related. Like
Mm.
my dad, my mom was stay at home mom, which is totally a lot of work. I mean, raising me and my brother was a lot of work. And my dad, though, he would leave at like 6 a.m. and get home at like 9, 10 p.m. 5 days a week.
Wow.
Like it was crazy. So now it's just kind of like the situation where I'm like, my dad's retired. My mom, she doesn't have to raise us anymore. So she's like retired. And I can just kind of take care of my family. And it's really nothing to do with me, man. It's weird. Like, I feel like I was good at like 10K a month. I was perfect. Like I
Yeah.
was happy, but I needed more to be able to support the people I love in my life. So that's kind of what drives me, is to be able to support other people that are in my life and even outside of my life too.
Yeah.
But it's like a natural progression. You, your family, your community, and then the world, I guess,
As
is
it
how I
grows,
do
it grows. I think it's really interesting, powerful. Number one, what drives you. Thank you for sharing. And the second thing is that it also changes. So you're saying like, 10 grand, I was good. I find that like 10, 20, that like they're kind of magic numbers, Once you get to like 30, 40, 50, it's like obviously, really cool, but there's like hear me closely, diminishing return on like the need or happiness or, whatever. But
Yeah.
when it shifts to like, wait a minute, but I'm kind of more motivated now by, the team that I'm with and the family that I've got 3 kids. You're like, hey, oftentimes people will be like, well, yeah, family like holds you back, it's distracting. It does take time, but
Mhm.
they don't often communicate like the extra shot of like love and energy that's like more powerful than you typically feel. So I think it's
Absolutely.
I can hear, that's what I hear when you're articulating, like, actually what's grown is like, the desire to give back and share more. So
Yeah.
dude, this was a ton of fun, man.
I know, dude. I loved it. Thanks for having me. This was
We might
awesome.
have to rope you back in for another one sometime in the
Dude,
future.
please. I'm in. I was already thinking because I'm having you on my show. I was like, I might ask you to do like 3 hours, and it'll just be an extension of
Let's
this
go
to go.
Rogan, baby.
Let's
Let's
go
go.
full Rogan. I'm
Let's
in.
do the thing, man. Hey, I appreciate you a bunch.
Thanks, man.
Hey, and thank you for checking us out. We appreciate your time and attention. We know it's insanely valuable. This where we, here we get to focus on real entrepreneurs getting real results that are on the front lines, just like you, just like me. Entrepreneurship can be lonely, but it doesn't have to be. And this is the show and the content where we get to unpack that and do it all together. We'll come back with some more great episode and content. We'll see you guys on the next one.